Hello and welcome back to another how-to series where I try to explain you how to improve your game. And this time we try to pick up the deck, how you build a deck. In order to answer that question, we first have to know about the different card archetypes. I divide them into 4 categories. First, we have the immediate economy, which exists usually out of villagers, crates, and economic buildings such as factories, or resource cycles such as corporatism. Then we have the military one, which, gives you straight up military to either give you a power spike or to help you defend your base. Then we have the scaling scaling economic cards. Which are essentially economic upgrades. And the counter spike to that is the military upgrade, which helps you to upgrade the military, make them cheaper, make them better, or let them train faster. So, and there's the water cards, so that's essentially 5. But okay. And in addition to that, now that you know the 4 archetypes, or 5 if you want to call that, you have to know in what you want to use these cards for. In a 1v1, you usually see more immediate economies, like the villagers and crates. More military shipments and upgrades, like, for example, this one right here. You have villagers, you have crates, immediate economy. You have a lot of military, and a few military upgrades, so military doesn't fall behind. And in a team game, you usually see less military cards, but therefore you see more military upgrades and economic upgrades, the scaling economy. If we see right here, compare this 1-to-1, you see less military shipments, but therefore you see more economic upgrades, such as Royal Mint, Refrigeration, Eco Theory. That's also a card that gets used also a lot of 1v1s. And on the water cards, you have to decide on which water map it is. Like, if it is on a water map that doesn't have whales, a finite resource, you usually don't need a lot of water cards. Usually, like, only the 2 caravels would have been enough. But if you have an infinite resource, whales that is, you can put more and more cards in it. For example, I have Fish Market as well as Rendering Plant in it, since those cards will never fall off. Whereas on a fish-only map, the fish would have eventually run dry. So I would have not invested more than 2 caravels and maybe schooners, which some civilizations have. And in Treaty or Deathmatch, on the other hand, we see no military shipments whatsoever, besides the infinite one, and a lot of economic and military upgrade cards, as you see here. And why do you have to mix cards to begin with? So, since especially in 1v1 and team games, shipments play a big role in the power spikes. And it balances for greed and military too. Because you need your military shipments to push out and defend if you're getting pushed out. So, for example, the 8 Crossbow is an incredible good card to defend. Or the Highest Brigadiers. And the 2 Falcons is also an insane power shipment, where the most games get decided by who wins the 2 Falconet wars. And then, you have to build your deck on what strategy you want to use. When I was playing around with like the bow pikes, so where I mass a bunch of crossbows and pikes, then I sent this card, which increased the armor of hit points of pikemen and halberdiers by 10%, and gives them more armor as well. It gave me a nice power spike. And also in team decks, you also have a lot of specialties what you want to focus on. Like if you are in the team match and you're asking what type of units you want to do, a good example is for the British. See, I have Team Cav, which focus only on Cav. And a few longbows if I have to, invest into that. Team Musketeers, where I don't have any Cav cards whatsoever. Only Musketeers. And longbows, because I like the Ranger cards. And then some civilizations you also have to specialize if you have a TP map or not. This is still the patch where British doesn't have the 3 worlds back yet. Which I think they will. And yeah. And now I've prepared 2 examples. So this is example 1. See, you have a decent mix of builds, of crates, of scaling cards, military shipments, military upgrades, and quite good scattered around. But what do you think is wrong with this deck? Obviously, the H4 is quite stacked here. There's not many games that play out in H4. So mostly what you see that people have a deck like this. Or have a lot of H2 cards, a lot of H3 cards, and not a lot of H4 cards. Yes, H4 cards are more valuable, but the resource you have to invest to and the chance that you get to the H4 cards is quite low. Come back to this example again. See a lot of H1 cards which are not really worth that much. Like 1.5 villagers. Courier can be nice if you stack it up with Spice Trade on some sieves. Like imagine if you remove those 3 cards. And put instead 1,000 wood, 1,000 coin, and for example 2 Falconets. This way you're prepared for much more of an H3 in terms of defense, attack. And then I have another example, which is a much more better suited deck. You have a few H1 cards, since you can only put 10 cards per H. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Since you will reach H2 100%. And most of the time, you're also gonna reach H3. And H4, you're not gonna reach it that much, that often. So I only put 3 cards in it. Another big H4 guy is like the heavy cannons. Can, put it out instead of this. And that's also essentially a skip to all this if you simply copy-paste the decks of the top players. Like go on Discord or go to your source of your wish, of your trusted person, and copy it over. This is also a simple way to build your own deck. However, you are not going to learn what each card is going to be used for. And the players on the top ladder play differently than those players on the, 1000 ETH range, let's say. So yeah, you can copy the deck to see what the deck looks like. And you can always adjust your playstyle. For example, if you never use a Royal French Army, you remove this card and add another one instead. For example, I don't know, Giant Grenadiers, Black Riders, Jägers. And if you don't use the, Eco Theory or 2 heavy cannons, you can remove that and get another card instead. So I hope that clears up for how you should build your deck, what the deck is all about. So in short is, copy a deck if you don't want to bother with building a deck. Have a good mixture of cards, of your crates builds, of military, of your scanning economy and your military upgrades. And in terms of water cards, don't put too many in them if the water doesn't offer you a lot of whales, But if it does, you can put even more cards in to secure the water. Maybe even the chunky battleship. But anyways, and you know, those are the two examples. One bad example and one good example, which shows more the differences on what a deck should look like. And there are nuances where civilizations can have a deck like this, where they have an H4, H2 and H4. One of those civs, if the only, is Mexico. Since they can revolt in any age, you can essentially skip the H2 entirely and revolt to H3, and then in H3 you can revolt to H4. So this is like the only exception that I have found so far, where you want to have a deck like this. But anyways, that's what it is for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it helped to improve you a little bit. And anyways, I'm gonna see you on the next one then. God, the fireworks are loud. Okay, let me switch back to a different home city. Ah, much better. Okay, sorry the fireworks don't blast your ears off. Okay, so I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye.